instead of a gun. The most powerful elected official in the United States is not the President of the United States. Yes, the President is very powerful, but the President is unable to do what is needed for you, me, and the rest of the country. My name is Carl Pearson, and I'm running as the Libertarian Party candidate for the most powerful elected office in the United States, New York State Attorney General. I want to become the nation's new sheriff of Wall Street with a law book instead of a gun to enforce your rights and the rights of all other Americans, homeowners, working class Americans, unemployeds, underemployed, self-employed, small business owners, working class Americans, and other middle class Americans at public expense, and do so before we lose any more of our freedoms and rights. The major media has not been telling you what you need to know to understand the existing financial and political problems we're facing as a country. They don't want to tell you, or for you to learn what I'm going to tell you in this 30-minute program, broken into about 4 parts. You probably think of yourself as sophisticated and able to choose between the Republican and Democratic candidates, but how good are you at evaluating a solution offered by an outsider who will not be given publicity by the major media? The major media will back the Republican and Democratic candidates even though they are unable to make any of the needed reforms. Listen to what I have to say and you'll agree that reform can happen, but not by re-electing the same public officials. Elect me as the new sheriff of Wall Street, the New York State Attorney General, and you'll get the needed reforms. It is important for you to remember that no federal or state statute or funds are needed to implement my reforms. The New York State Attorney General, if I'm elected, will be the nation's only elected official and a bully pulpit and internet information source for everyone seeking, 1, to stop the looting of our economy, and 2, move the nation into a resilient or sustainable economy, to become the only governmental agency working to save our economy from the planned destruction. I'm going to describe the problems we're facing and also the only solution to these problems. Yes, there is a solution, as you will see, and one that is actually capable of being implemented by the nation's new sheriff of Wall Street, if the right person is elected to fill the position. That right person, I want you to understand, is me. The nation's sheriff of Wall Street is an official who enforces not only New York law, but federal law as well, and for such reason is acting on behalf of all Americans throughout the United States. I need the support of you and millions of other Americans to get elected and start the process of curing the many evil effects of political corruption over the past 50 years that are destroying the United States and the American dream. You have never heard from anyone else about the cumulative evil effects of corruption that are destroying our country or the cure. Keep listening for the next 27 minutes while I provide to you the most valuable political and economic information you've ever heard at one time. Here are some of the reforms you will have if I'm elected. Your own town, village, city, or county attorney general to enforce your rights and protect your local economy, a tuition-free equivalency college for residents only, a local stock market to finance small business, an area-wide payroll administrator to make payroll reporting compliance easier for small business and increase employment, and $30 per hour employment opportunities for all willing and able residents using my task marketplace, and the local manufacturing of renewable energy and other manufacturing. These are many of the reforms I offer as your new sheriff of Wall Street to ensure a sustainable economy where you work and live. Before telling you about these reforms, I'm going to tell you about the ongoing deliberate destruction of the middle class being overseen by your elected federal officials, the President, the 100 United States Senators, and the 435 members of the House of Representatives. As you have suspected, they are not acting for voters or Americans, but for the domestic and foreign financial interests that provide them with the money and publicity they need to run for and remain in office. To pass laws that transfer more and more money to the large corporations and richest persons in the world and out of the hands of you and other middle-class Americans, including homeowners, working-class members, self-employeds, and small business owners. Your elected officials don't want these reforms. Then I'm going to tell you why the New York State Attorney General is the most powerful elected official in the United States and the nation's only hope to offset the theft of our economy taking place through corrupt action and inaction at the federal level of government, including the federal regulatory agencies. After that, I'm going to tell you very briefly about myself, an attorney with more than 40 years of relevant experience to become, with your help, the nation's new sheriff of Wall Street, with a law book instead of a gun, to enforce your rights at government expense. We've had too much enforcement of your duties at government expense. We need to start enforcing your rights with as much vigor and do so also at public expense, or we'll have no rights and freedoms left at all, which is where we're heading if we don't implement the one available solution, that is, these reforms, which I can implement if elected. Then I'm going to tell you about our Vigorish economy, which is where our elected federal and state officials and the agencies they control continually award part of our economy to protected interests, resulting in undeserved income and profits for them, and higher costs and lower profits for you. Our Vig economy is created by usury, excess profits, monopolistic profits, non-competitive pricing, legislative set-asides, all for the benefit of the favored few. When all of these protected interests are added up, our Vig economy, the middle class has little left for itself. The rich keep getting richer, and the wealth of the nation winds up in the hands of fewer and fewer persons and companies, which then become too big to fail and are financed in their excesses with even more of your taxpayer money to get even larger, ready to be bailed out again if their gambling with your money doesn't pay off. Our current economy is not a sustainable economy, but a direct route to extended depression, breadlines, Hoovervilles, living in cars and railroad stations, broken families, suicides, increased violence, and ultimately third world status. Once you understand the problem, the needed solution or cure often becomes self-evident. You need to understand the problem to be able to solve it. I'm going to get you to understand the problem so that you can then evaluate my proposed reforms. Accordingly, through my discussion of the above, you are going to understand what's going on and what needs to be done to cure the nation's growing financial and political crisis. I can then tell you how the New York State Attorney General, if desirous of doing so, can cure these problems. That will be my final part of this program and will take about 7 minutes to explain, for you to see what can and should be done to end the existing political corruption and save the American dream and democracy, which are now being taken away from us. I need your support to win this election on November 2 and be able to make the needed reforms. Here are 3 things that you can do. Contribute to my election campaign at carlpersonfornyag.com and use PayPal or your credit card. carlpersonfornyag.com, or mail a check to me, Carl Person, 325 West 45th Street, New York, New York, 10036. Here it is in front of the screen. Or, and the second thing is, send an email to your list telling them about this program, which they can see on YouTube by searching for Wall Street Sheriff. Just search on YouTube for Wall Street Sheriff. And finally, post a Facebook blog about this 30-minute must-hear program, Sheriff of Wall Street Carries a Law Book Instead of a Gun. For viewing at YouTube, just search for Wall Street Sheriff. See if you can use the power of internet and Facebook to make this 30-minute program available to all interested persons. And the next part will be part 2. And please look at all the parts